Hello, I am KRITESH. I am here with my friend SANSTAV with that topic where we left in previous video. In continuation of part 2 of the series Woman: the World Sustainer, this part is being prepared on women's empowerment. This video is about to be the most important of the lot. So don't skip a single second and watch till end. Empowerment is the process that creates power in individuals over their own lives, society, and in their communities. People are empowered if they have an access to opportunities without any limitations or restrictions such as an education, profession, and in their way of life. Feeling entitled to make your own decisions creates a sense of empowerment. Empowerment includes the action of raising the status of women through education, raising awareness, literacy, and training, and also give training related to defense on herself. Women's empowerment is all about equipping and allowing women to make life-determining decisions to the different problems in society. Alternatively, it is a process for women to redefine gender roles that allows them to acquire the ability to choose between known alternatives whom have otherwise been restricted from such an ability. There are several principles defining women's empowerment, such as, for one to be empowered, they must come from a position of disempowerment. For example, a stripper no longer has to take off her clothes to get money and now is a receptionist for a respectable company. Empowerment stems from self-respect. Furthermore, one must acquire empowerment themselves rather than have it given to them by an external party. Other studies have found that empowerment definitions entail people having the capability to make important decisions in their lives while also being able to act on them. Lastly, empowerment and disempowerment is relative to other at a previous time, therefore, empowerment is a process, not a product. What are the methods of women empowerment? Scholars have identified two forms of empowerment: economic empowerment and political empowerment. Economic empowerment increases women's agency, access to formal government programs, mobility outside the home, economic independence, and purchasing power. Policymakers are suggested to support job training to aid in entrance in the formal markets. Strengthening women's access to property, inheritance, and land rights is another method used to economically empower women. This would allow them better means of asset accumulation, capital, and bargaining power needed to address gender inequalities. Often, women in developing and underdeveloped countries are legally restricted from their land on the sole basis of gender. 12. Having a right to their land gives women a sort of bargaining power that they wouldn't normally have. In turn, they gain more opportunities for economic independence in formal financial institutions. Political empowerment supports creating policies that would best support gender equality and agency for women in both the public and private spheres. Methods that have been suggested are to create affirmative action policies that have a quota for the number of women in policy-making and parliament positions. Further recommendations have been to increase women's rights to vote, voice opinions, and the ability to run for office with a fair chance of being elected. 7. Because women are typically associated with child care and domestic responsibilities in the home, they have less time dedicated to entering the labor market and running their business. Policies that increase their bargaining power in the household would include policies that account for cases of divorce, policies for better welfare for women, and policies that give women control over resources, such as property rights. However, participation is not limited to the realm of politics. It can include participation in the household, in schools, and the ability to make choices for oneself. Some theorists believe that bargaining power and agency in the household must be achieved before one can move on to broader political participation. Role of education. Education is one of the most important means of empowering women with the knowledge, skills and self-confidence necessary to participate fully in the development process. More than 40 years ago, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights asserted that everyone has the right to education. In 1990, governments meeting at the World Conference on Education for All in Jomtien, Thailand, committed themselves to the goal of universal access to basic education. But despite notable efforts by countries around the globe that have appreciably expanded access to basic education, there are approximately 960 million illiterate adults in the world, of whom 2/3 are women. More than 1/3 of the world's adults, most of them women, have no access to printed knowledge, to new skills or to technologies that would improve the quality of their lives and help them shape and adapt to social and economic change. There are 130 million children who are not enrolled in primary school and 70% of them are girls. Involvement of powerful nations domestically. The U.S. empowered women through passings of laws such as allowing women to vote in 1920, banning discrimination based on gender in 1964, banning discrimination against pregnant women in 1978, etc. Additionally, the inclusion of women in politics allowed for more gender equality. The first female Speaker of House, the first lady to run for president, and first women to serve on the Supreme Court were monumental events that proved socially the acceptance of subservient women. Countries should act to empower women and should take steps to eliminate inequalities between men and women as soon as possible by a. establishing mechanisms for women's equal participation and equitable representation at all levels of the political process and public life in each community and society and enabling women to articulate their concerns and needs. b. promoting the fulfillment of women's potential through education, skill development and employment, giving paramount importance to the elimination of poverty, illiteracy and ill health among women. C. eliminating all practices that discriminate against women, assisting women to establish and realize their rights, including those that relate to reproductive and sexual health. D. adopting appropriate measures to improve women's ability to earn income beyond traditional occupation, achieve economic self-reliance, and ensure women's equal access to the labor market and social security systems. E. eliminating violence against women to third world countries in various forms, one of which is by providing education programs. There are currently bills in Congress that work to ensure education to girls, one of which is the Protecting Girls' Access to Education Act. These are enacted with the belief that proper education will pull them out of poverty and reduce exploitation. Another action taken on by the U.S. is the PEPFAR program, initiated by